Fewer than 500 people have stood atop all 7 summits, but not because of climbing skill alone. Some peaks lure with smooth trails before unleashing altitude's hidden punishments. Others demand tens of thousands of dollars just to set foot on ice or to dodge political chaos. Why do easy mountains kill while Antarctica's deadliest seems safe until you see the bill? Let us pull back the curtain on every risk, every cost, and the shocking reality behind the myth of the 7 summits. At nearly 6,000 meters, Kilimanjaro rises above the plains of Tanzania with a reputation for being the world's most accessible high summit. No ropes, no ice axes, no technical climbing, just a long walk through rainforest and alpine desert. It is the only one of the 7 summits where tens of thousands of people each year believe they can simply hike to the top. But the real danger is not in the trail beneath your feet, it is in the thin air above. Altitude sickness is Kilimanjaro's silent threat. Most climbers start near sea level and reach the summit in less than a week. That rapid ascent gives the body little time to adjust. Acute mountain sickness, headaches, nausea, and confusion can appear as low as 3,000 meters. Push higher too quickly, and the risk of high-altitude pulmonary or cerebral edema grows. Emergency helicopter evacuations are not rare, especially for those on short, budget itineraries. The meringue route, often called the Coca-Cola route for its hut comforts and quick schedule, has one of the lowest summit success rates. Many are turned back by altitude, not terrain. Guides and porters are not optional here. Tanzanian law requires every climber to be accompanied by licensed guides and a team of porters. Their experience matters, but even the best guide can only do so much when a client ignores warning signs. One seasoned Kilimanjaro guide puts it simply: the mountain is not technical, but the altitude is unforgiving. Respect the pace, or you will pay for it. Despite a fatality rate of just 0.03%, about 1 death for every 3,000 to 5,000 attempts, the sheer volume of climbers means tragedies still happen every season. Many deaths are preventable, caused by rushing, ignoring symptoms, or trusting that a non-technical route means a risk-free climb. The cost to join a guided trek ranges from $1,500 to $4,000, making Kilimanjaro the cheapest of the 7 summits, but the real price comes from underestimating what altitude can do to the unprepared. On Kilimanjaro, the greatest hazard is the belief that an easy path guarantees a safe return. 1,200 kilometers from the South Pole, the white silence of Antarctica hides one of the world's most exclusive mountains. Vinson Massif rises from a continent with no towns, no roads, and no rescue service. If you want to stand on its summit, there's only one way in: a cargo jet from Chile landing on a blue ice runway built and maintained by a single logistics company. Every tent, every meal, every drop of fuel is flown in at staggering cost. The price for a guided climb starts at $45,000 and often climbs past $55,000. For that money, climbers get more than just a shot at the highest point in Antarctica. They buy a tightly managed system, experienced guides, strict client screening, and conservative turnaround times. In this world, risk is controlled as much as possible. No other 7 summit can claim Vinson Massif's record. There are no documented client deaths on standard guided expeditions. But the safety here is as fragile as the weather. A storm can ground flights for days, leaving teams cut off from the rest of the planet, completely dependent on a single operator's chain of supply. Half a world away, Karsten's Pyramid in Papua, Indonesia, offers a different kind of ordeal. The mountain itself is a steep limestone spike, but the real battle is getting to its base. Political volatility, shifting tribal alliances, and the presence of one of the world's largest gold mines turn access into a gamble. Helicopters are now the norm, but even these can be grounded by sudden permit cancellations or local unrest. Climbers have found themselves stranded in jungle villages, their way forward blocked by armed groups demanding unreceipted payments. One Papuan fixer describes it as a negotiation with the landscape and the people. Never the same deal twice. Expeditions have been halted mid-approach, not by weather or injury, but by a phone call from a regional official or a closed landing zone. The official price tag for Carson's runs $10,000 to $20,000, but the true cost is uncertainty. Unlike Vincent Massif's cold precision, chaos rules here. On these two peaks, remoteness takes different shapes. In Antarctica, it is a fortress of ice and control. In Papua, it is a maze of politics and chance. Aconcagua towers nearly 7,000 meters above the Andes, a mountain whose gentle slopes and broad summit lure thousands of trekkers each year. The path itself rarely demands ropes or technical skill. What turns Aconcagua deadly is the thin air and the storms that sweep in without warning. Climbers push past 6,000 meters, heads pounding, lungs burning, convinced that steady boots and strong legs will see them through. But altitude does not care about confidence. In an average season, 2 or 3 people do not come back. Most die not from falls or avalanches, but from altitude sickness, pulmonary or cerebral edema, striking high above base camp, often in the final push for the summit. Others are caught by sudden storms, battered by winds that can top 100 kilometers per hour, temperatures dropping below -30. There are no Sherpas here, no high-altitude porters to shoulder the burden. Each climber hauls their own food, tent, and oxygen-starved ambition. The cost to join an expedition ranges from $3,000 to $7,000, but the real price is paid in judgment. The mountain's easy reputation convinces many to ignore early warning signs, to gamble with weather windows that close in minutes. On Aconcagua, the hardest step is often knowing when to turn around. Elbrus, by contrast, sits in the Caucasus like a snow-covered playground. Cable cars glide up the lower slopes, snowcats ferry tourists to high camp, and insulated huts promise warmth at altitude. For many, it feels like a ski trip with a summit bonus. The mountain's ease of access draws thousands each year, some with little experience beyond hiking boots and a strong will. But the upper slopes above the Pastakova rocks are a different world. Here, storms can roll in without warning, erasing the route in a wall of white. Climbers lose their bearings, wander off track, and freeze within hours. Russian rescue teams respond to dozens of calls every season, and almost every year, people die, sometimes whole groups caught by a single storm. The mountain's reputation as a safe, affordable goal, entry as low as $1,200, feeds a dangerous overconfidence. Many believe that if there are cable cars and huts, the risks must be minimal. But Elbrus punishes complacency. The real hazard is not the terrain, but the illusion of safety. On both Aconcagua and Elbrus, the greatest threat is the one you do not see coming. Thin air or sudden whiteout, each waiting for a moment's mistake. On Denali, the climb begins at the base of the Alaskan Range, where the vertical rise from lowland to summit stretches more than 5,000 meters, greater than the distance from Everest's base camp to its peak. Each climber hauls a sled and a pack loaded with weeks of food, fuel, and survival gear. There are no porters, no animals, and no shortcuts. Every step is self-earned across crevassed glaciers and upslopes blasted by Arctic winds. Temperatures routinely plunge below -30. The cold gnaws at fingers and toes, and storms can pin teams high on the mountain for days. Since records began, more than 130 climbers have died here. The fatality rate stands at about 0.3%, a number that hovers in the mind of every team digging snow caves or crossing hidden crevasses. On Denali, the price is measured in exhaustion and exposure, with every decision carrying real weight. But the world's highest summit offers a different kind of ordeal. On Everest, the struggle is not just with altitude or weather, but with the sheer number of people on the mountain. During peak season, hundreds of climbers converge on the same narrow ridges, forming queues in the death zone above 8,000 meters, where the body cannot recover. Over 300 people have died on Everest, many in plain sight of others still climbing past. Bottlenecks near the Hillary Step and South Summit force climbers to wait for hours, burning precious oxygen and strength. The risk is amplified by crowding, inexperience, and the relentless pressure to reach the top. Permits alone cost around $15,000 per person, but the full expedition price can soar to $90,000 or more, depending on support and luxury. For those chasing all 7 summits, the financial reckoning is inescapable. Even the most frugal path with bare-bones logistics, local operators, and minimal backup pushes the total well over $100,000. Most guided climbers spend between $130,000 and $180,000, and that figure climbs higher with every delay, every change in route, every lost piece of gear. In the end, the 7 summits demand more than strength or skill. They require a willingness to risk not just body and mind, but years of savings, all for a chance to stand on the highest point of each continent. Standing atop these peaks is rare, more so than winning Olympic gold. Cost, risk, and access keep most people grounded. As adventure tourism grows and climate shifts reshape the mountains, the true challenge becomes how we measure ambition against reality. The world's highest summits still demand a price, sometimes far beyond money,